Hi, friends. Welcome to another podcast of Conversation with Luciana. I want to thank you guys for joining me for a YouTube exclusive. Wanted to talk to you guys about, I remember I was reminiscing back when I was growing up. It was a simpler time. Didn't have all this, access to social media. Outside was our social media. That's how we knew what was going on. Slam books. You guys don't remember that. You guys know yearbooks. Slam books was our Facebook, our Instagram. Where kids went outside. They weren't in front of a computer screen, except for Saturday mornings, where you watch Electric Company. What was on? Scooby-Doo was on for that. Electric Company. You watch that. American Bandstand and Soul Train. When Soul Train went off, you knew it was time for you to get outside and see what was happening. What was experience life, where you roller skated, where you played jacks, where you played made up games, tag. You would be out there all day. You would run in the house and get a snack. And you would go outside. When the street lights came on, your parents had to, you knew it was time for you to go in the house. It was, you couldn't wait till that friend around the corner came outside because you knew you guys going to have, a great time. It's so much negative publicity out there. Not publicity, so to speak, too much access to information, to entertainment. You have to be stimulated every moment of the day. It's too much. It's too much. It really too much. I remember when the news reported the news, not their opinions, but they reported the facts. You weren't into, what you see now. You don't even know what you're getting. You turn on one channel, they're talking about this. It's like a never-ending recycle news channel of bullshit. That's what it basically it is. You can turn on, it doesn't matter, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Now it's 3 o'clock. I mean, my Lord. Kids don't even come home to cartoons anymore because everything is off traditional with the regular station. Now everything is on cable. Well, if your parents can't afford cable, if you don't have cable, what you watching? They stuck in front of an iPad or a computer or their cell phone. It's kind of like not enough books, too many buttons. And it's just when I remember in high school, you weren't worried about, I'm not telling my age, you weren't worried about, going to school, the normal drills, fire, earthquake, but you weren't doing active shooting drills. The only competition that you saw was in the parking lot. I'm not the parking lot. Well, the parking lot when they were standing around, the people that were fortunate enough to drive to school. You just kind of hung out, but you all dispersed. But you had music playing in the courtyard, especially when I went to high school. And you had dance competition. The only the fights that you saw resulted in, somebody doing breakdancing or something like that, where you can go to the movies and don't have to worry about, I see you from a different high school. It wasn't this beef, this underlying drama. Now, you can't even send your kids outside to play without worrying about, somebody either kidnapping them or basically, stalking them, disrupting their play with gunfire. I mean, come on now. Your kids can't even go to the park anymore. You can't even walk in the park. What does that say to us as a society? Remember the simpler time in life when things wasn't so negative. I mean, every time you turn around, someone has something negative to say. When do we counter that? What happened to like that grandmother or that big mama or, that aunt, the grandparents that you can escape all that nonsense, where you can just be a kid, you can be a child. Now children have to be adults quicker. I think I saw something that was totally disturbing on, it was on the reels. And I don't go on to some of these these social media networks because it's trash. It's absolutely trash. I don't know what a mother would get out of calling her daughter a lazy ass beach. I'm going to say beach because I don't know who's listened to that. Or a hoe. Where? Talking about, her body is clean and you need to talk about all those diseases. It's like, what are we're trash talking our children? Are we in competition with our kids now? Is that what we're doing? I mean, just think about life and how simple it was when TV was off. TV was off. TV cut off at like 12 o'clock or not 12 o'clock, at like 2 o'clock in the morning. You didn't hear nothing. It was silence. I know we're more advanced. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. You have access to misinformation. You have cyberbullying. You have all this. Are we in a better place than where we were 10 years ago? Hell, 20 years ago? No. Well, you got to go with the times, Luciana. Things are evolving. Just because things are evolving doesn't mean that we learn from our past mistakes and we're better for it. Some of the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals that we learned as a kid is lacking today. Are parents too busy working that you don't know what's going on with your kids? It's really a travesty what's happening. Remember the time. If you're a parent now, you remember growing up, especially if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, hell, 60s. You remember where you felt a little safer. The world was a little safer. You knew that people were there to protect you. The laws were there to protect you. Now, the people that hold those laws or are supposed to enforce some laws, we don't even trust them, or do we? Again, this is my opinion. This is my opinion. The world was a little bit safer, a little more kinder. Our biggest threat is not the threat. It's not foreign. It wasn't domestic. It was foreign. Now it's domestic and foreign, and then you have to realize that kids have anxiety just like parents. They can sense our stress. They really can. We're stressed out. That's why I say, take care of your mental health. I will take a break in a heartbeat. I don't have time. I don't have time to be doing that. I remember, waking up on Saturday morning before any chores was to be done. Yes, we had chores to do, especially the yard work. I wasn't into the yard work, but we had to do it. My mother would get a weed stuck in her craw, and we would have to go out there and do yard work. But she wanted to, it was a home ownership. She wanted her house or outside to look nice, Can't blame her for that. But I remember watching cartoons on Saturday morning, and you knew it was time to get outside, and you wore your play clothes when Soul Train was off or American Bandstand was off, and you would get outside and play. But you watched cartoons, and cartoons were very basic. After school, I know I jumped ahead to Saturday, but I remember coming home during a week and you watched cartoons before you did your homework. You knew that. And then you wanted to get outside for how many hours or minutes that you were allowed to go outside. Summer breaks were summer breaks. I don't know if necessarily school year round is a good thing. I think sometimes it was beneficial to the parents. It wasn't beneficial to the kids. It's year-round school. They out for 3 weeks. They're back in school for the next. I'm like, no, we had a summer. What happened to 2 months off? Get a break. You had summer school in between. We don't have that anymore. Remember when music was music, Really, you look forward to seeing or hearing your favorite artist perform. Now everybody jumping up. Everybody got something, Everybody got putting out a tape, not a tape, what do you call that, a single or whatnot, not even a full album. Would you really take your kid to see some of it? No, I wouldn't. I'm not knocking them, but no, I wouldn't. I remember going to basketball games, and it was friendly when you had high schools and the cheerleaders actually, cheered. They actually had a cheer for their team. Now, it's almost like borderline, I don't know what this is. I want to say, what do you call lounge dancing? Lounge, the strip club. I don't know what it is. It's like I'm glad to see plus size girls out there doing their thing, but you got people, talking about them. Why are you hurting a kid? Why are you doing that? And then you had, when you go to the games now, it was like, you watch the games, and parents are so involved, and fights break out in the stands, and then the player on the court turns around, look at the parents or the aunt fighting, and then it turns into a mess. I remember going to a basketball game and actually watching a basketball game. It was cool. It was cool to be in that type of atmosphere, environment. It's just not. I just remember a simpler time in life where you can actually breathe. You can actually take a deep breath and exhale. We can't do that now. And it's unfortunate the family are split. I was fortunate to grow up in a 2-parent household. My sons were raised in a single family household, but we still parent our children. Nowadays, it's like, it's just a mess. It's really a mess, and it's unfortunate that the children are suffering for that. That's what it is. We say we're doing things for the kids. Are we? Or are we being self-serving? Are we being self-deserving, so to speak? Because I don't see how the kids are benefiting. You have multiple siblings, and your mom's still having them, so the oldest one is raising the brother or the sister, and then he develops that mentality because he never really had a childhood. So when he's an adult or she's an adult and they're having kids, guess what? Guess what you have? You have kids raising kids. It's a mess. I remember, I guess in my parents' era, them telling me that when a young woman got pregnant with child, first of all, you had to marry her, or she was shipped off to boarding school, or her grandmother ended up raising the child because she wanted that her grandchild or to have some type of future. So she took that in. Now, when I was going, I couldn't believe it. I was a little shocked that people were, having babies in the 10th grade. I'm like, hell, we just got to high school. How are y'all having babies? And then fast forward, I seen them years later. I didn't even have my first son at the time. And I'm like, oh, how are you doing? They're like, oh, I'm fine. How are you? And I'm like, great. And it's like, oh, this is well, I knew you had one. And, he's almost like a teenager. But you had 4 more. I'm like, well, damn. Not knocking it. You can reproduce. You can have as many kids you want. But I'm like, you just saw that toll. Life had just taken its toll on her. I don't want to be that. I don't want, no one wants to raise their children by themselves. Just because you guys are not together don't mean that you guys can't co-parent. I don't even think you guys know what it is because you're letting social media raise your children. That's what you're doing. But remember a time. Remember when kids used to go trick-or-treating. Remember when kids looked forward to holiday breaks. If they were actually breaks, they weren't like 3 days off, you go back to school. It's like you actually had time to spend with your family. Where parents or people prepared meals. You got to see your cousins. There was no division. I don't care if you was in the suburbs or the urban community. I refuse to call it the hood, and I refuse to call it the ghetto. Hood and ghetto is a state of mind. It is not where you live. It is not where you live. Because some of the best protectors and teachers of life were in those urban communities. You got your fashion, you got your game really from them urban communities. Let's not negate the hustle or the original creators. Let's not do it. And when I say hustle, people knew how to work to put food on their table. They also knew the importance of ownership, a home or your business. They knew the importance of that. But so many people want to take from the urban communities and don't want to pour back into those urban communities and blame the urban communities for the dysfunction that we allow to happen. Why are schools being closed? Why are there no grocery stores? Why are there no access to resources? What happened to going to the library and picking up a book and researching it? Where the library? Where's the librarians? When you taught kids how to go and be quiet, you taught them people skills. You don't have that nowadays. Remember the time. I remember the time. I remember where, Michael Jackson and Prince were the two people, Biggie and Tupac. They were the people that, either you like Michael or you like Prince. Some people was just in the middle. I liked everybody. I just like to be, music. Good music. Now it's kind of like, I don't know what music today is happening, but I'm not saying it's not, because it takes a talent and a skill, and I'm not putting one generation above another generation. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that life was simpler back then. It was a little simpler. Could we evolve and do things better? Absolutely. But I wouldn't change my childhood for nothing. I wouldn't change how my children were raised in that time for nothing. Now this one, I'll second guess bringing a kid up in this world. Now, because I don't know. I don't know if you're my friend or you're my enemy. And I just want to add and just, end on this note. Men and women, know your audience. Know who you bring into your home around your children. Know that. Just because somebody smile at you and they throw some money at you, as this guy used to say, throw some change at you, don't mean I want you around my kids. I don't want you disciplining my children. If I don't like the way that you discipline, well, he's a stepfather or he's my boyfriend. I don't give a damn. Or I don't care. I don't care. The adults should know how to conduct themselves as an adult. A child should not have to defend themselves from their parents and the person that their parents choose to be with. That's all my life I had to fight. That's a true statement. Know who you bring around your children. Know what your children are watching. You didn't get them a cell phone to just leave them alone. Do you want social media really to raise your children? Do you? Kids are looking for that discipline. They're looking at that adult figure. You can tell. They recognize it when they see it. Some rebel against it, but they like structure. Know who you're bringing around your children. Protect your children. You were given that gift, the charge. You were the vessel that carried that child, or you were used as basically an instrument to bring forth that child. That doesn't absorb you of responsibility. I don't give a damn if you don't like her, you don't like him. That don't absorb anyone of the responsibility and making sure that kid is cared for. I think I saw something on social media that I thought was a trip. And it was a question that was posed, and it was something to the fact that if a child lives in the household with the mother, is the father or the other person, it doesn't matter because fathers have custody of their kids nowadays, responsible for the household bill. Overwhelmingly, 80% said yes. Why? Why is somebody responsible for what goes on in your house with your kids? The lights, the cable, the food. If you're paying child support. If you're taking care of your responsibility, why should I have to make sure that the lights are on in your house? What about my house? If you're not equipped to take care of that kid or those children, then bring them back to me. Give them to the parent that will. I voted no. I don't want you in my house telling me, that the PG&E, what does that look like for me? My PG&E bill is like, Pacific Gas and Electric. It's what? $300. Well, first of all, it shouldn't be that high, but I'm asking you for money because your children are here. What? Come on now. That doesn't even make sense. We want to take, but we don't want to give. We want to receive, but we don't want to participate. Come on now. Know who you bring around your children. Protect these children at all costs. Protect yourself as well. Because you're no good to your kid if you're not there. Incarcerated, dead, you're not jail. Same thing as incarcerated. But you're not there. You need to be present. Be present. That's one thing we could say. Somebody was a present in our lives. Bring back the time when school was fun. Educators educated. They didn't spend all this time disciplining your kids. You want to know why private school and people pay all that money? Not necessarily they have the better education system. They're paying for it. So when I'm paying for something, I expect you to give me what my money is worth. If you tell me my money is worth $5,000 every month, I expect my kid to know. I expect my kid to be taught. That doesn't mean my kid is better than the public school. It's just I'm paying you to do this. So in essence, you work for me. Public school is like what? You get what you get, right? What? Teachers are burnt out because they spend so much time dealing with the psychological damage inflicted on by their home. Come on now. Y'all not ready for that conversation. Remember the time. We can get better. We can get back to basic. We can have, we can raise up strong men and women, but it starts with us. If you're broken, how you going to deal with somebody that's shattered? You got to fix yourself first, right? It starts at home. It starts within. Start pointing the finger, and at the mirror and looking and say, well, you're the blame. You're the blame. No, you're not the blame. You're the solution. That's what you are. You are the solution. Everything lies within you. So do your due diligence, do your job, and remember the time. Remember, you knew how you was raised. You knew how you wanted to raise your children, and raise your children in a loving, caring, supportive environment. Let them be a child first. Let them be a child. Let them grow up. Thank you for joining the conversation with Luciana. You can always follow me on Instagram, Twitter. This is exclusively on YouTube, but you can follow wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to. Again, I'm sharing my opinion, and that's all it is. We're just having a conversation. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.